good. We got a couple. We just got a couple left. Unless we come up with some other ideas and thoughts and stuff.
I have zero time, but I can try to put some effort into that. I'm trying to get a class organized, try to get work organized, try to build a house. It just gets a little tiresome.
Yeah, no, I get it. I mean, life happens, life goes on. And, if I didn't have all these pretty much put together, I would be scrambling to try to get these things organized as well. So, yeah. And even at that, I kind of come along and, just kind of play with them a little bit and adjust them and maybe put some more updated information in there, try to, and so forth. So it does take some work. Because let's elaborate on that a little bit. So, because I've had a couple people, you included, mention certain topics and stuff. And I thought, well, how would that look if somebody else was presenting or if somebody else was putting it together? And one of the things I come up with is if Kyle or Dave Ryan or anybody said, hey, we're going to do this on such and such subject. Here's, 3 or 4 videos that I come across, little clips. Here's some more information. I could actually piece that together and put it into the slides program that I use.
You can do the hosting of it, and we can just be the talkers for it. So.
Yeah, and then there's a way in here to actually switch presenters so that somebody else could be doing the whole thing. And if I need to kind of forward to this or play this or stop that, then we could work together on it.
Yeah, and, that seems reasonable.
Yeah, we could pull it off. I think we could pull it off. So it might just be us today. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I've been surprised before. Good morning, Afton.
Good morning. How are you?
You got your coffee? You got all settled in? You're all
not yet, but the animals are out.
Yeah, they're not cooperating with you this morning. I know, it's funny like that. Yeah. Anyway, so as a couple of weeks ago when we met, I was talking about possibly combining a couple of these. I was looking at them and I'm like, they're just too much. So I'm just gonna kind of go with this one. The next one, we'll see. Maybe I might be able to combine the last two, but I don't know. But this one here just had enough information in it, and we were covering enough stuff that I'm like, I don't want to rush through these things, or seem like we're rushing. We can always get more in depth into some of these subjects. You could dissect a wetsuit down to, this guy's using, 75 stitches per, whatever, on his suits versus, so you could get kind of crazy with it. But one of the things with surfing gear, I guess, you think, well, surfing's pretty simple sport. It's, you got a surfboard and you just find, nature's providing the waves, hopefully. You just go out. But not all of us get to go surf, at Waikiki, with 78-degree water and 78-degree air temperature and all that good stuff. And so there's a lot of surfers.
People get to go surf up in what looks like glaciers up in Alaska, but that's another story.
Yeah. You look at this picture and you think, okay, something's not right. But and then there's really just hardcore surfers that are basically just travel looking for that perfect sort of wave or that perfect ride, that's what they're striving for, or just a lot of times I'm not really looking for this perfect wave. I just want to go somewhere where there's nobody else.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to guess there's probably not a whole lot of people up there with this guy. So,
sunbathing on the glacier.
Yeah, just some up there and who knows where. But so does end up being, gear, whether it's, we're talking about wetsuits and then we're talking about hoods and gloves and booties and then you're talking about they're even getting into dry suits. And then you're looking at leashes and waxes and, and then, you get all that kind of stuff. But let's see here. Let's look at this a little bit more. Yeah. So it's kind of a pretty dramatic shot. But when you're talking about wetsuits, and obviously you talk about hypothermia, and you always hear about water, anybody falling into a frozen lake or, anything like that. Hypothermia, that's what you're fighting. You're just fighting the cold, and you're fighting to hang on to body heat. So, if the environment gets too cold and your body is unable to produce sufficient heat for the core, it can drop and hypothermia can develop. And we kind of all sort of know that, just whether it's going surfing like this guy or whether it's, you're out backpacking and you get wet and the temperature drops, or you end up in a snowstorm, or whether you're skiing or whether you're snow camping. These are all situations that, and we've talked about a lot of different scenarios. I mean, you can go rafting and be in some of these conditions that the water temperature is extremely cold, and you get some wind, and then next thing you know, you've got all kinds of problems that could happen. Body heat can be lost 25 times faster in water than it can be in air, typically. So this guy,
There to that picture. That picture is phenomenal.
Isn't that wild?
Yes.
Yeah, it's just frozen. And it almost looks like a wave frozen. Yeah, you don't usually see a guy standing in a wave like that. So.
No, unless he's got like a fearful face. Ah!
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's kind of bizarre, but this little video here on just some Arctic surfers, getting out and.
In those areas, I mean, some of those roads go for hours on end without hitting a little town. And you could literally run out of gas and freeze to death. I don't know if I ever imagined myself surfing and being deep in the snow and paddling out and getting pretty darn amazing waves like that. That idea of there still can be a perfect unsurfed wave out there. The only thing is chances are you're definitely going to have to go into the cold climates to find that.
So kind of interesting little segment right there. I mean, boy, sometimes I think, prepping over and getting over to Santa Cruz sometimes is a chore. And, I'm thinking, wait a minute, though, that's nothing compared to the logistics of an a flight and snowmobile and and putting on, and getting, a 5 or 6 millimeters wetsuit and booties and all that stuff to go, and then something that's even, you start getting into that thick of a wetsuit, and then your
Maneuverability.
maneuverability. Yeah, what you said becomes so difficult. You're just like this trying to paddle and everything. It just becomes really, now the suits. I know since I've started surfing, the suits have gotten so much stretchier, and so stretchy that sometimes oh my God, this thing's just gonna just snap, and they somehow hang in there. And so they are, you can move around in, say a 4-3 wetsuit now that back in the day would have been really, really hard to paddle in. And so, yeah, it definitely is getting better. But, cold conditions, windy conditions, those guys were definitely getting some incredible rides and some incredible barrels and things like that. They didn't look, very extremely long, but some great drops and some great tube time and so forth. Good surfers. I mean, someone like me, that would have been a waste of time. I would just get out there, and I'd have been, I could spend, same amount of time in my washing machine and had that much fun, so same kind of thing.
That's a good run.
Yeah, right. Yeah, let's see what we got here. All right, a little bit on the wetsuits. Talk a little bit about that.
If you've ever gone surfing, diving, or even just swimming in the ocean, you may have worn a wetsuit before. But if our regular clothes get drenched, we usually end up cold and shivering. So how does this skin-tight, sopping wet onesie—
Oops, sorry everyone. I don't know what happened there. Wow, that was weird.
If you've ever gone surfing, diving, or even just swimming in the ocean, you may have worn a wetsuit before. But if our regular clothes get drenched, we usually end up cold and shivering. So how does this skin-tight, sopping wet onesie keep us warm? Well, wetsuits actually use a layer of water, along with other layers of material, to trap your body heat. It all works because of thermodynamics. Your body likes to be a toasty 37 degrees Celsius, which is typically warmer than the air or water around you. If two things have different temperatures, that means their atoms and molecules are bumping around at different speeds, with different amounts of kinetic energy. And heat energy gets spontaneously transferred from warm things, which have more energy, to cool things, which have less energy. So your body particles are constantly bumping into nearby air or water particles, and transferring energy through a process called heat conduction. Because liquid water molecules are more densely packed than air molecules, water is better at conducting heat than air. That means that cold ocean water will suck heat away from your body faster than cold air, which can get dangerous. Enter the wetsuit. Wetsuits are designed to stop heat from escaping, also known as insulation, and they're made of layers upon layers of materials. The outer layer is tough and somewhat water resistant to keep most of the cold water out. Then comes a layer made out of neoprene, a rubber foam with lots of tiny nitrogen bubbles trapped inside. These pockets of gas don't conduct heat as easily as water does, so this layer is really important to keep your body warm. After that, some wetsuits have a layer of heat-reflecting metal, like titanium or copper, and closest to our skin is actually a thin layer of water, which is how wetsuits get their name. See, wetsuits are designed to let in some water and trap it with all those insulating layers. So your body heats up the water because of conduction, and then the warm water helps you keep warm. Unfortunately, poorly fitting or badly designed wetsuits don't trap this water layer very well, and might let too much cold water in. Scientists are still trying to improve neoprene wetsuit technology. One team has even been inspired by water-dwelling mammals like beavers. Beaver fur naturally traps air bubbles to create a gas barrier and prevent water from touching their skin and conducting heat. So these researchers are designing a fur-like rubber material, experimenting with the density and length of the hairs to trap air most efficiently. Who knows, in the future you might just spot a surfer sporting the latest animal-inspired wetsuit fashion. Thanks for asking, and thanks especially to all of our patrons on Patreon who keep these answers coming. If you'd like to submit questions to be answered or get some videos a few days early, go to patreon.com/scishow and don't forget to go to youtube.com/scishow and subscribe.
So how about taking a hike across it barefoot? That is a day in the life of a penguin. In fact, the whole life in the life of a penguin.
I don't
So-
know about penguins.
Yeah, all the penguins. Well, let's hear about those guys. Those we could probably learn something from them too. So, Travis, you guys have much experience with wetsuits, or
I mean, all my water wear has always been like rash cars and things like that. Never a full wetsuit. I've worn a dry jacket one time when I did whitewater rescue training, but I never actually paddled, and I just wore it for a little bit. But that's my only experience with any of that stuff.
yeah.
I'm also in New Mexico and Colorado, so it wasn't exactly the Arctic.
Yeah. I remember finally getting my first wetsuit, and because I was always borrowing or just trying to get through just so I could get out and paddle out in the water and stuff like that. And once I finally bought one for myself, it worked so much better because it actually fit. And
Yeah.
that, and she's very, very correct about fit is a big deal. Obviously you don't want it so tight that you can't get it on and can't move around in it and things like that. But you also don't want it sloppy. Being fairly tall, you want something that's going to, go all the way down to the end of your arms and at the end of your legs and things like that. So once I finally did, yeah, exactly. And it's like, wow, this is so much better. And I surfed a couple wetsuits. I had a couple of them that were really good. This last one, I went with a little bit different routes. The first one I've ever gone with a chest zip in front, which is awesome, but it's hell for me to get in. It's really hell for me to get in, because if you think of it, really small, fairly small, I have to get my whole body down in through this section that's just open in the chest. So it's but it's a little bit better as far as I think once it's on, and once I'm out moving around, and I finally, I go over the falls a couple times, and I get and it sort of finds its way on me where it should be. It's awesome. I love it, but man, it's a brutal, it's kind of a tough thing.
So going back to your earlier question, no, I had not worn wetsuits, but when I was younger, I used to be on a swim team. So I would be swimming like backstroke, freestyle, breaststroke, that kind of thing. And everyone would wear, there's a word for them now, I can't think of it, but the skull caps, the swimming skull caps. And the only way to put it on without ripping out your hair, because it's just a big piece of rubber, it's like putting a condom over your head. It's not a great feeling. But if you got it wet first, it went on better. So you dunk it in the water and you dump it over your head, it would slide over your head like a lubricant over your head. And then this is me asking because I have no idea. Is it similar to a wetsuit? Like, is it easier to put on once it gets wet? Because you said you shimmied into it a little better once you swam for a little bit. Does that make sense?
Well, what my experience is, typically in a wetsuit, you have your layer. It's like a neoprene 2, what they call neoprene 2. I'm part of it. Part of it, and what neoprene 2 is you have a fabric on the inside and one on the outside, where neoprene 1 is just going to be fabric on one side. Now, they don't put fabric sort of on your chest area and usually a patch on your back, because that, when you're sitting up on your board, that won't hold water. It'll just run off, and it could dry really fast. And so any breeze or wind, then you don't have that cooling over your core part of your body. But over the rest of it, it adds a lot of durability to it. that open neoprene is really susceptible to, you know, cuts or tears a little bit on there. The fabric over the outside of it really protects it and gives it a lot of durability. So on the inside of the wetsuit, you've got fabric the whole way. When that fabric's dry, it slides over you a lot better than
Okay.
once it gets wet, it gets a little, I mean, you can do it, but most surfers will say, oh, I'd rather put on a dry wetsuit.
Perfect. That's what I was looking for.
Yeah. And in fact, a lot of times, if I know that I'm going to go out surfing again, I might go surfing in the morning. I'll turn that thing inside out and get it out in the sun to try to get it to dry as much as possible. So it's a little bit easier. But I think what you've got going, Travis, is going up against your skin and things like that is sort of the rubber side, the rubber
Correct.
stuff.
Correct.
There's not a sort of that fabric.
There's
That-
nothing inside it. It's just it's literally like putting a condom on your head with no lubricant. It's not.
Yeah, right.
In the world.
Exactly. So, so I think that's the difference between that and but yeah, it's a drier wetsuit is a little bit easier to get going on that. But yeah, let's check out some more stuff here. I'm not sure if you can really see, can't really see that on these guys' wetsuit so much, but that center area of the chest would be, like I said, usually a tough skin or a neoprene one. They're just scouting for waves. Now this guy obviously it looks like more of a rash guard day for him, and he's out there with his board shorts and leash and calling that good. This is, Southern California, get away with this. Hawaii, definitely. I mean, the rash guard is actually probably just there for sun protection more than anything. And because you're not really going to, worry about the transfer of heat in that situation as much. A couple different styles of booties. You can just get a regular, like over on the right side, it's just a typical style booty. That's always been good enough for me. I'm not that aggressive of a surfer. Now, a lot of short boarders, a lot of aggressive surfers and stuff like that will use a toe type booty. It helps them grip the board a little bit better. The boot doesn't really roll under their feet so much when they're really trying to torque some turns. And so they get a little bit better transfer of weight transfer into the board, and it helps you with a little bit of control. But most of the time, these are going to be roughly like a 5 millimeter, maybe even more. Because if you're going to resort to a day where you put booties on, which I will usually try to avoid, then it's going to be a cold day, and you're going to want some heat retention there. So 5 millimeter will typically do it for that. Gloves, kind of the same thing. Usually about 5 millimeter. You got the Mickey Mouse gloves over on the right side. It's just some sort of gang sign going on there. But yeah, you can kind of see same thing. I mean, usually for me, if it gets cold enough and just the wetsuit isn't going to get, I will typically go booties. And then if it's even colder than that, then I'll get gloves as well. And then finally end up with a hood. The hood, to me, I mean, even though that's, where your a big heat loss area is, it just is a tough one to kind of deal with in the surf. Usually I have a little visor on that, and then just kind of cover what you would think that it would be covering. So those are kind of the neoprene accessories that's going to kind of go with along to complement your wetsuit. And then leash. Obvious, this guy's going to need a leash. Otherwise, you may not ever see his board again. Yeah. Sometimes you have to just ditch your board and just hope your leash is good. I've actually gone and ditch my board sometimes before, and I'm trying to dive underneath a wave, and I'll actually reach down to my ankle and grab onto the leash. So it, because I know once a wave hits the end of my my leash, it's going to really jerk on and it could pop off your leg. But it's also going to take a kind of and if you got a longboard, you got a lot of surface material and weight out there that's going to be pulling on that. So, so we'll talk a little bit about leashes here.
This is Ben for Surf Dome, and we're looking at what size leash is best for you. When determining what length leash for your surfboard, there's a general rule of thumb. Your leash should be roughly the same size of your surfboard. It's pretty simple. If you're riding a 6-foot board, you ride a 6-foot leg rope, an 8-foot board, an 8-foot length rope. I'm pretty sure you can do the math. If you keep that general rule, you should be just about right. In terms of thickness, there are 2 standard sizes for leashes. Thinner leashes used for smaller waves and smaller boards are known as comp leashes, like this one here, usually around 6 foot long and about 3/16 of an inch thick. Regular leashes are thicker and stronger, so they're used for longer boards and bigger waves, and be closer to 5/16 inches thick. And with these regular ones, there's a bit more drag, there's a bit more bulk around your leg, but with the bigger waves, you're less likely to break. And also, you can go up to the 8-foot leashes for an 8-foot board, as we talked about, and then way up into the longboard range. There's special longboard leashes. They tend to be around 9 feet. They've also got a special ankle, or the Velcro that actually goes around your knee, not your ankle, because you don't want a big, thick 9-foot longboard tugging on your ankle. And so they're specially designed for longboarders around the 9-foot range. So for an 8-foot board, you'll need an 8-foot leash, and that'll be just about right. For a 6-foot shortboard, a 6-foot leash is plenty. I mean, you get the math. For some of the boards that obviously fall in between those 2 foot ranges, like this 7-foot 6 board behind me, it's better to go above in terms of the leash length. So for that 7/6, an 8-foot leg rope would be spot on. Fun fact, in Australia, these leashes are called leg ropes. They're quite literal out there, and that's often shortened to leggy. So yeah, if your leggy breaks, you're in trouble.
Yeah, that makes sense. So the first surfboard I ever made was 9'6", and I bought a 10-foot leash for it. Great. It worked great. And I had it forever, never broke, but they will stretch. When I finally replaced it, it was probably 16. Just pulling it and pulling it and pulling it. And like, man, sometimes I'll come off my board and I'm pulling, things way out there, man. I'm pulling my board in and stuff like that. So yeah, they do stretch. And kind of keep that in mind too. And some of these boards get, like I've got a 10-foot board, and I'd love to, I want to build a 11-foot, but so you can imagine you're going to have to kind of seek out some longer stuff. But yeah, leashes are pretty, it's funny, a lot of hard, or not, I should say soul surfers, not hardcore surfers, but soul surfers. Guys that go out and it's like, yeah, they're all zenned out with the wave and they're all one with the ocean and everything. And so they're starting to surf non-leash, that's awesome. Go for it. And but they're also really good at knowing exactly what's going on under their feet. Okay, I'm going to have to kick out here, and they kick out, land on their board, just keep paddling, and they're all good. If they wipe out in a way that they've got a hand or something grabbing, because the board will take off. It'll find the beach. And there's a whole lot of different philosophies and stuff like that on those things.
So that also seems like something as a new surfer, and obviously I'm not a Zen surfer or a soul surfer, but as a new surfer, I would have it mainly so I don't kill other people. I feel like a missile coming at you at 20 miles an hour is probably not the best thing in the world.
Yes. And we're going to talk a little bit about that too, Travis, because we're going to talk about catching waves and things like that. But that's a very, very good point. 2 things. One, as a surfer, you have responsibility for yourself. And so that's why you are constantly looking out into the ocean. A couple things. If there's surfers that are out past you, what are they doing? Are they surfing right towards you? Or did their board get away from it? Is their board coming right at you? Or you might be the only one surfing out there, and here comes this big set that's sneaking up on you. So you're constantly keeping an eye out there. There's a lot of people, I've seen them before, they'll get into a conversation, they're having fun. Next thing you know, it's like, oh, and we've got to outrun this thing now. And so that's one of the responsibilities. And then the other responsibility is that surfer out there is to try to maintain control over your board and what's going on. So one of the things that I have had when I've taken new surfers out is I say, okay, we're gonna wait for a little bit of a lull in the waves, and then we're just gonna commit and we're gonna just paddle out. And I said, go stay over there about 20 feet from me. Okay, don't, because what they'll want to do is they'll want to get right behind me. And it's like, well, I'm not sure where I'm going, so I'm going to follow you. No, you don't want to follow me, because I'm going to be punching through some waves. If my board gets away from me, it's going to be all over you. So just stay over there. We can see each other. We can talk, and and we can go through that way. So that's a good point, though, Travis, is keeping control of your board for other surfers and being safe. Because like I said, I mean, I've got that 9.6 board that I paddled on forever. It was about 3 inches thick, and it was a beast. I'd go out paddling with it, and they called it the patio. So it's like it's like, wow, you're just bringing your whole backyard with you today. So, but I loved it. And but it, you got to keep it under control too.
The O'Neill Boost is the best-selling wakeboard and water ski dry suit on the market for 2 main reasons. The first is that you stay completely dry. You can layer up with your favorite cold water gear and ride for hours. The second reason is that you have an amazing freedom of movement because of the Boost's loose-fitting design. The Boost dry suit is loaded with features, starting out with the fully integrated suspenders. The suspenders make adjusting the overall fit of the Boost dry suit a breeze. The 3-layer full rip stop nylon is extremely durable and 100% waterproof. The ankle and wrist gaskets are made from the super strong latex material that is twice as thick as competitors, and it provides a watertight seal. The smooth skin, dry neck seal is comfortable and prevents chafing. Getting in and out is no problem thanks to the heavy-duty zipper on the back of the dry suit. The back zipper designs is far more popular than a chest zipper, as it stays out of the way while riding and allows for greater mobility. It is possible to zip and unzip the dry suit by yourself, but we recommend having a friend help you out if possible. All Boost dry suits have a limited 1-year warranty. If you have any issues with the seals or breathable nylon membrane, they will repair or replace your dry suit free of charge. Extend your season this year with the O'Neill Boost dry suit. Get yours at wakemakers.com.
I wanted to kind of throw that out there just because I've never surfed in a dry suit. I mean, I've only paddled, kayak with the dry suit. But they're out there, and I know how effective they are, in kayaking and so forth. So I could see it. I could see that. But I don't know. For me, I mean, they're pricey and kind of specialized for that. And I have a hard time seeing myself having a wetsuit and a dry suit. For one, I'm not able to surf enough. Now, if I was a British Columbia surfer, or something like that, and I like surfing year round, which, I mean, that could be a Washington surfer too, which we did year round. But even at that, a wetsuit was enough. It really was. I basically have got the same thickness of wetsuit now surfing in, Monterey Bay, Santa Cruz, and so forth, that I did when I was up in Washington. Now, the booties and gloves and hood and stuff now probably more often up there than down here. And on those days when you're out there surfing in a rainstorm and you can't get dry and your head's wet all the time, and then you get a wind coming over it. It's kind of a bizarre mix there. But so I definitely want to touch on it. I wish I had a little bit better segment on the construction or the different bits of a wetsuit. We had that one video talking about wetsuits, but like I was saying about the chest panel, about back zip versus chest zip, and just other features. I probably could have gotten a little bit better on that. Let's see what else we got in here. All right, this is kind of I'm not sure really what this one here is. Just another group of people that went up to Arctic, and they looking for a project, and they decided to shoot.
We're sitting there at the beach, and all of a sudden this idea kind of dawned on us, like, what if this is possible? If the stars align and we got lucky, this could actually come to life.
Dude, this is it right here. If they get a wave.
But I don't think we had any idea what we were about to get ourselves into.
Oh my gosh!
I mean, the whole idea in the beginning, it was just this sort of trip with friends. We wanted to go out and explore this area that we had been researching really for, I think, like 2 to 3 years. I was on the phone really trying to gather up any willing soul who would come with us. My assistant Russ, and then we talked to Ben, Weiland, and then we were calling the guys, one after another, trying to kind of hide the fact that this might actually be pretty dangerous.
I basically just took 2 red eyes to get here. It was pretty cold coming from Hawaii to here, so.
Justin was in Florida, and I was in New Jersey, and there's a blizzard.
I got 3 layers. We walked outside and I was still just like freezing.
I think the day leading up to this is like, I don't want to go. Like, I want to go, but I don't want to go.
Is that his car? Are you kidding me?
He bought it from a rental car agency.
How do you like the adventure mobile?
That's some camera gear already.
I mean, who wouldn't be excited to join Chris on a journey to Iceland? But at the same time, I had a lot of doubt that we could actually pull off some of the shots that he was talking about. In that kind of environment, you're fighting a lot of limitations of not only your body, but the gear and everything involved.
That is a lot bigger of a hill than it looks like.
There was some death contemplation there. Maybe if I just dive down off this rock face, it'll all be over.
I don't know how this is gonna work out. I'm gonna hang over the edge here and try to get a shot of the ice cracking.
A little further this way.
Oh, day 1, not good.
Broke a wing.
Yeah, broke a few things.
Taylor, my wife, who both of us have been on all kinds of big mountain Himalayan adventures, but this was something a little bit different. We were packing our bags the night before, throwing in our heaviest weight puffy jackets, being pretty confused about exactly what we were getting into.
You okay?
Yeah.
Did it cut you? You bleeding?
I don't think so.
I was going to press record on the camera, and when I was bending down, my puffy jacket hit the obscure series of commands that you have to do to power up this drone. It powered up and started to take off, so I batted it down.
Oh,
fuck.
Oh, man. Yeah, let's go.
It was pretty much emergency mode after that.
After the stitches, after the hospital, I think it definitely made me question if I should go home.
I don't know what that is.
I basically didn't want to be the link that made the film not as powerful as it could be. I made the decision to stay.
From the very beginning of the project, we kind of built the whole thing around the fact that we were going to be there with 18 hours of darkness a day. And being there in the middle of winter, there was really only one camera we could use to shoot in this low of light. So when I traveled to Iceland, I brought with us maybe 4 to 5 A7S2s. The A7S2 was our go-to, it was our workhorse. Even under the most heinous of conditions, this thing performed. Whether there was snow encrusted on the front of it, or salt spray hitting it, or we're at the beach and it's -20.
When I'm like towards the end, my finger, I couldn't even press the button on the camera. I was just like gone.
Get whatever wetness I can. Well, I think my hair is frozen now.
Well, we would try to go to the beach, and I think we just realized how absolutely unprepared we were. The wind off the ocean is like, you're just unprepared for it. It's freezing.
When we were sitting there on Captain Siggy's boat, and he told us that this storm was coming and we had to basically turn around, the worst thing you could do as a freelance photographer, freelance director, is to come back empty-handed. So we were kind of driven by this idea that we wanted to salvage this trip for everybody involved. And so we left against his orders, and we basically drove through the West Fjords, and it ended up being the largest storm in 25 years. And as everything kind of evolved and that storm descended upon us, it was like, call it quits and go home, or stay and see what else this place has to offer. And
Just starting to see some flickers of the northern lights, so we're hoping maybe if we can motivate the guys that they'll get out there and surf. But if those lights come out, it's so hard to sleep when you know what could happen.
You couldn't design a more challenging shot. Take surfing. You have to deal with the wind, the swell, the tide, the athlete. And then you, as a photographer, you have to be ready for really anything. And then all of a sudden you take the northern lights, this incredible celestial event that really, it only happens on the coldest and clearest of nights. It's rare to see them low on the horizon or over the ocean at all.
At 3 o'clock in the morning when it's pitch dark, normally you call it a night. But when you have cameras that can shoot at 10,000 ISO, you have to keep going because you're forced to keep up with the technology.
I think this is probably like the 4th or 5th night in a row we've been out trying to get this. I'll be good to go like this.
Rounding up the guys and trying to convince them to get a wetsuit on and go out under some of the most brutal conditions you could ever imagine.
It's fun, like 3 to 4 foot little waves, and the guys are out there freezing their asses off, so.
Your head goes numb and the wind's hitting you in the back. You could feel your wetsuit just freeze to your body.
I think there's some ice still crystallized here, but it was cold.
You have ice. It's all ice, dude. That's so heavy.
I know this is the 4th night we've been out here trying to get something. A little frustrated.
The crew's tired, the surfers are tired. We're all cold as hell, but hopefully we get it.
When we were adjusting the settings in the camera, moving between ISO 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, 40,000.
I can't even see them with my naked eye. The only way I can see them is by looking through this camera.
A lot of times trying to adjust our shutter speed, 15th of a second, 24th of a second. So a big key to this was matching the right lens to the right camera. And my favorite combination was essentially the 35-1.4. That lens kind of enabled me to capture really the landscape around, plus the northern lights and the wave. We found that the most optimal scenario was going out right when the moon would rise over the hill, and it would just send this big beam of light down on the water. And basically we were using the A7S2 with the time-lapse app built inside to do all of our time lapses. We were leaving cameras out like all hours of the night.
We got the sword in the stone here. Whoever removes this tripod gets the Northern Lights shot.
we're attaching this A7S2 onto the drone and having to tape over a lot of the lights emitting from the drone so that they wouldn't reflect into the surface of the water.
Dude, this is it. This is it right here. If they get a wave.
Oh my God, this one.
He's going. What? What? Oh my gosh!
When I look back at my career over the years, the highlights, like the most exciting times, is when you're like right on the brink of failure.
We're using this light on the beach to illuminate the back of the wave, and the northern lights are doing the rest.
And I think it just became that much more real for everybody when we knew that so much effort kind of went into making something like this. Every time I see them, I look and we know we have that experience that like that was something that happened and we all witnessed it. And it's so much more surreal to be able to share it with people all over the world now, even if they weren't there.
It's like something you dream about, you know? But you never think is possible. I can't believe that just happened, dude. I'm like looking at the photos and it feels fake. I don't even know if it's real. It feels
so unreal.
That's a really inspiring thing to see people go beyond what they thought was possible for themselves, and makes me want to push harder and do more. And I think that's part of what made this project a success.
You know, all of us had hoped that this film would in some way inspire people to seek outside of the safe and the routine.
Where's the fun in just having something guaranteed?
All that work you put in, the money, the time, you definitely have something to remember, you know?
It's why we do this, why we put up with the struggle and the pain. When you find yourself in those moments, it's like there's no place you'd rather be.
Really, it's about embracing uncertainty. When you embrace a moment, you know, that there's a high chance of failure, then that's really a space that you grow in.
At the end of the day, I guess you look at the photos you got and the experience you had, and there's nothing else in the world that I'd rather be doing.
Oh my gosh! Dude, I can't believe that just happened.
So Afton, when we go over for our trip, it's not going to be anything like that.
We're not doing that.
That's what
It'll be the exact opposite. It'll be the exact opposite of that. So,
I expect only that, though.
Only that.
He wants to see the northern
we
lights.
may have to postpone this trip, then, Travis, because I think there's a little bit more logistics I need to throw in there. Need to save up.
You
for
I
that.
had to request off more days from work? Is that how this works?
Exactly right. Yeah, that I mean, that's obviously about as extreme as you could possibly get. Surfing at night under the northern lights in the Arctic. So yeah, you know, and going to the other side of an island because you're getting blown out by a blizzard. Other than that, that's surfing, right? So yeah, that kind of phenomenal project that but it also just sort of shows you the extreme surfing. I mean, you can go out in all kinds of different conditions nowadays. I mean, 50 years ago, you know, before they really, or probably even longer than that, wetsuits have been around a little bit longer than that, but you know, it just wasn't possible. I mean, you could go out, but you catch one wave and then hightail it to a hot tub or something, trying to recuperate from it.
Can I ask how much does like a stereotypical regular wetsuit cost if I was to buy a wetsuit?
Yeah. So if you got a really nice, good wetsuit, you could probably expect to pay somewhere between $350 and $500. I think the last one I bought was right in 400 range, something like that. But that's been, 7 or 8 years ago now. But for me, they'll last. I mean, there's guys that will go through a wetsuit a year too. I mean, they're just in them every day almost. Yeah, and they last me quite a while. And I also did buy a shorty wetsuit when I was living in Santa Cruz, and I was doing a lot of surfing, and I love surfing in it because it was easy to get on and off.
Yeah.
And it was really comfortable surfing in it because I think it was just a 3 mil. And, it just went down knees and short sleeves. And so you can move around in it. But, those warm, sunny days, the water's still cold and you just kind of needed a little something. But the air temperature is warm enough that you really I didn't need to put on a full wetsuit to stay warm. And it just took a lot of that off. And so it helped out a lot.
What's the purchasing process like? Do they have to tailor it to me? Do I find a size that fits me? Because if I'm so for instance, I'm 6'1" and 140 pounds, which is ridiculous. But you know what I mean? How do I get a wetsuit that fits me then? Do I find that specific one? How does that work?
Yeah. So a lot of these surf shops say like going over to the coast, and you can go into an O'Neill shop and you can just try them on. And they have a, it's kind of a sizing guide that they would kind of go with. I'm trying to think what, it, like you said, 6'1", and they could take some measurements, chest, hips, inseam, those kinds of things, and they could calculate and say, okay, the best fitting suit that we make is going to be, say, a small, medium, extra tall kind of thing, and then try that one on, see how you like it, and that kind of thing. So, yeah, but it's there's a lot of stretch to them, so it's a little bit more forgiving than I think even a dry suit. A dry suit's probably even a little hard because it is what it is.
Yeah,
as form fitting, but you can go with that. I've gotten pretty lucky. I've actually even bought some wetsuits before I even tried them on. I think I bought a Body Glove wetsuit when I was because I had a pro deal on it, and so I checked it out. I did some, and I just ordered it, and it fit great. It fit really, really good, and I was really happy with it for a long time. But yeah, so you could kind of get away with that. I think the only other thing we really haven't talked about was just waxes, but waxes are pretty straightforward. I mean, there's a couple different types. You can have a base wax, and then you can actually have a surf wax over the top of it, which is kind of a hump type style of wax. Mm-hmm. And they just come in for different temperatures, whether it's warm water, cold water, and so forth. Pretty straightforward. When we go over the coast, we'll talk a little bit more about it. The interesting thing about it is this wax will come in flavors, and and like what I mean by flavors is not so much tasting flavors, but scent. And they're really nice. They're really good. I mean, you can get root beer or like bubble gum.
Don't eat the wax. Don't eat the wax.
Yeah. And so there's a lot of people that just carry them around in their car, so yeah, it's like, oh, I love the smell of that. But yeah, it's kind of funny. And they've come a long way as well. But as far as gear goes, that's kind of very, very basic, touching on some of the stuff. This was, the last thing that we saw was, presentation of guys but that also just kind of shows you different surfing conditions nowadays. You know, being in California, you know, we're pretty much Central California. We can just, even whether it's winter versus summer, it's not going to be that extreme. It's not going to be that extreme. I actually prefer surfing in winter. There's less people and the waves are better. The temperatures, the inconvenience part of it, as far as temperature goes, is getting your wetsuit on and off because it's cold putting it on. Once you get it on, by the time you get in the water, you're probably sweating anyway. So it's like, wow, I'm ready to get in some cooler water. But it is inconvenient. I mean, I've gotten in and out of wetsuits up in Washington coast when there's snow on the beach like that, and it's like, oh, you know, you get the car running, you get the vents going, you heater going, and stuff like that, and you got towels and everything's, you know, you're motivated to get that thing off and get some layers on and get dry and stuff. But it's a lot of fun too. But
so is that something we can rent? Can we rent a wetsuit? Like, how does that work?
Yeah. We should be able to rent some wetsuits, and I'll get some more information on that, Travis. How that might work and so forth. But yeah, you can. Well, I'll find out. I'll get some information. I know a couple shops there in Santa Cruz that we could probably hit up, and if we wanted to rent suits, if we wanted to rent boards, you know, just get something a little bit, whatever. So we can. And I, like I said, I have a couple, but we'll see. We'll see if they're going to fit once we get closer and stuff. So yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. It should be a fun time. though. Thanks again, as always, you guys, for just being there. Yeah. I appreciate it. Got a couple more. Travis, and Afton, if you've got something a topic that you want to throw out there, yeah, I'll work together with you and throw it out there. So we'll see what happens. Yeah. And Travis, we'll see you this afternoon.
Yeah, I see you at 1 o'clock apparently. Weird time, 2 o'clock, whatever it was.
Oh yeah, I got to go back to bed. I was sleeping in.
So bizarre.
So, all right, you guys. Well, take care. Thanks again so much. I appreciate it as always. And we will catch you guys next week. I think. What do we got going? Next week is going to be on. We're going to talk about different types of surf rigs. Get a little bit more involved. We did cover about wave formation and all this stuff, but we're also going to talk a little bit more about breaks. I may see it. I'll see if I can combine those last two. I don't know. We'll talk about it. So. All right, guys. Take care. Appreciate it. All right. See you next time.
Have a good day.
All right. Thanks. Bye.